need fixed? Then call on us, Damage Control Services. When your roof is sagging and the drywall is drooping after a storm, or your home just needs some enhancements, from damage repairs to new construction, Damage Control Services is here to help.
Hi, I'm Leah Caruso with Strive Rehabilitation, inviting you to join me Thursday at 11 a.m. for Health Matters. Ocala Health and Strive have teamed up to bring you the latest information on good health services available to you right here at home. This vital information will help you make informed decisions about your health. So don't forget to join me here at 11 a.m. Thursday. It's news you can use from Ocala Health, Strive, and your friends here at WOCA.
All right, thank you. 25 minutes before 8 o'clock. Nice looking Wednesday morning. It really is a nice looking day, and there is rain in today's forecast. There was a little rain yesterday. I don't know how much you got. I know that 2 days ago it rained heavy in some places and very light where I was. So I guess we're at that time of the year when these little patchy portions of the sky. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Small clouds, I guess, are dropping rain. All right, so the Amtrak crash is where I left off before the break. At least 5 people were killed, it says. There's an investigation going on. We'll find out, I guess, what caused it in the hours today.
Yeah, that is.
But how scary was that, huh? How scary would that be for anybody riding a train?
Yeah, you're looking forward to having a fun time. You're probably there, some people with their families.
And you have this misconception that anything is safe.
Exactly.
Anytime you think you're on something safe, you realize that nothing is safe.
No.
You know. But anyway, so. All right, so let's look at a couple things. First of all, let's look at the $20 bill.
Okay.
We'll take this as long as it takes to do this. There's probably not a whole lot of debate. This whole thing got started, the way I understand it, by a fourth grader. A fourth grade girl. She asked President Obama if he would put a woman on the $20 bill. Mm-hmm. The president acknowledged her idea. She joined forces with something called Women on 20s, which is a nonprofit group that plans to petition the White House to replace Andrew Jackson. People have been debating the idea of putting a famous woman on the $20 bill, and I'll tell you in a second why they picked the 20 and why they wanted to boot Andrew Jackson off of the 20.
Okay.
The nonprofit group called Women on 20 spearheaded the discussion and launched a ballot with 15 options. Okay, so the fourth grader didn't start it. But I guess the fourth grader's letter gave it a lot of news.
Yeah, I think so. Once a child is involved, news guys cover it.
So they had 15 options, including civil rights activist Rosa Parks, feminist writer Betty Friedan, and environmentalist Rachel Carson. Once the public has decided on the woman most deserving of the honor, the group plans to send a petition to the White House. Now, that's old news. Mm-hmm. The new news is what I want to read to you next.
Okay.
So that was the beginning of this. Hold on. I'll just turn my pages here. Oh, gosh, there's another story, too, I want to share with you. I'll
okay.
hold that for later. I don't want to mix up stories. Here we go.
Okay.
So the Women on 20s petition, this is the newest news on this story. 600,000 people have expressed their opinion about this, and they want the president to do whatever he needs to do to get Andrew Jackson booted off the $20 bill and have a woman put in his place. The campaign, again, called Women on 20s, has hundreds of thousands of followers, including a number of public figures like Susan Sarandon, Chelsea Clinton, Ellen DeGeneres, U.S. Treasurer Rosie Rios. Even President Obama has said it's a good idea. In addition, 3 bills in support of having women on the 20 have already been introduced into the House and Senate. All right. So yesterday, the 600,000 vote petition was submitted to the president, and Harriet Tubman was chosen as the face by the majority of the people who voted.
Oh, okay.
For the new $20 bill.
Okay.
Voters had 15, as I mentioned, 15 historically important women to choose from. The 4 finalists were Eleanor Roosevelt, Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, and Wilma Mankiller.
Okay.
I love that name, Wilma Mankiller.
I know. Puts the Black Widow to shame.
Wilma Mankiller was the first female chief of the Cherokee Nation. But nevertheless, voters chose
Harriet Tubman.
Eleanor Roosevelt came in second place.
Mm-hmm.
There was about a 7,000 vote gap between Eleanor Roosevelt and Harriet Tubman. 600,000 people.
Wow. Well, it would have been very ironic. I mean, you said Andrew Jackson was not nice to the Native Americans, and if Wilma would have been on there, it would have been, just desserts. He wasn't nice, and she was the first female Native American chief. So that would have been very ironic. That would have been something.
So let me tell you before we go to the phone. I see somebody on there. Hold on just a second. Let's see. So the campaign has also started a virtual march to the White House. In other words, they're not really marching. They're hashtagging something. Oh, hashtag Dear Mr. President. That's what they're doing.
Oh, for encouraging him to sign it? Is that what it is?
Right. When you you can express your opinion on Twitter and then hashtag. And I think Facebook also does the hashtag thing now. Somebody tell me if it's true.
Well, can't they vote on it in the Senate and the House? I mean, isn't it a bill?
That's what they're doing.
Oh, okay.
The choice of the 20 was no coincidence. Here, the $20 bill was no coincidence. The campaign hopes that the bills will be able to exist by the year 2020, which will be the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage. Mm-hmm. They also take issue with Andrew Jackson's inclusion on the legal tender because he was a huge foe of paper currency, preferring gold and silver, and he thought it would take down the country. Mm-hmm. Also, he is a controversial figure for his passage of the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the ensuing Trail of Tears, which killed thousands of Native Americans. So he's the choice he's the one to get rid of if we're going to have a woman on our paper currency.
There you go.
So there you go. Let's go to the phone. Good morning. What do you think?
I think it's very interesting when people try to revise American history. And I really think it's interesting that we live in an age when a bunch of people can get on the internet and start a campaign like this, which is fine. It's a good outlet for people's emotions and their energy. I don't have a problem with that. And Andrew Jackson wasn't a very nice man. He did steal the Indians' land and send the Cherokees to Oklahoma. It was called Indian Territory back then. And a lot of people don't know this. He killed a man in a duel, too. He was called Old Hickory for a reason. But if we're going to start revising our history based on stuff like that, then we better take President Roosevelt off the dime, because during World War II, he sent thousands of Japanese Americans to concentration camps. And let's talk about George Washington. Of course, his family owned slaves. But you know what, Larry? He also cut down a cherry tree, and that contributed to global warming. So we need to get rid of him, too. I mean, there's no end to this. And you know what? Harriet Tubman would be an excellent choice to be on some kind of American coin or currency. She was a tremendously important influence. And you can read about her. She was treated terribly because she stood up for the rights of African Americans, and people said horrible things about her. She'd be a great choice. But I don't think we need to tear down something else to build something else up. And Andrew Jackson, sure, he wasn't a nice guy, but he was also a very influential person in American history. And like I said, if we're going to get rid of Jackson, we need to get rid of Roosevelt because of what he did to the Japanese Americans. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you. Okay.
Oh, great point.
And we've had, now I'm not a historian, but I've had callers who told me that FDR also sent back a boatload of Jewish people back to Germany during World War II, right?
Yeah,
I don't know. That's what I've heard.
He did.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, if you want a woman on currency and you don't want to boot anybody off at all, then I guess we have to have a $25 bill.
That makes sense.
Just have a new bill. Just a $25 bill. Why not? We have a 25-cent coin.
That's right.
Why not a $25 bill?
Oh, good point. Good point. Yeah, the coins complement the bills, so we should have a $25 bill then.
$25
there you
bill.
go.
Why
there
not?
you go. Excellent.
Why not?
Pete.
There's
good
my
job.
idea. All right. Speaking of money, if you are living in Seattle, you got a $15 minimum per hour raise a few months ago.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And now there's this story. Since the legislation was announced last summer, the Seattle Times has reported on restaurant owners many concerns of how to compensate for the extra funds that are required for the labor. They are raising menu prices. Mm-hmm. They are sourcing poorer ingredients.
Yep.
They're reducing their operating hours. They're reducing their labor, in other words, laying people off.
Of course.
The Washington Restaurant Association puts it this way: it's not a political problem, it's a math problem. Restaurants are closing at a higher than normal rate, and Seattle is already a fairly high wage place, or was already a fairly high wage place. Regarding the amount of labor, at 14 employees, a Washington restaurant already averages 3 fewer workers than the national restaurant average, which is 17 employees per restaurant.
Thank you, government.
So they have dropped the number of employees, which means that those who are left are doing better. Those who are gone are making nothing.
Yeah.
Or are getting a handout from the government.
And those who are left are working more hours. And are they getting time and a half, or are they just getting straight time?
All right, we can continue this after the break.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Clouds and some sunshine today with a thunderstorm around, mainly during the afternoon hours. The high 87 at the coast, 92 inland. Partly cloudy tonight, though 68 to 72. Tomorrow will be partly sunny, but watch out for a shower or thunderstorm in the afternoon and evening. The high 84 at the coast, 90 inland. On Friday, times of sun and clouds with a shower and thunderstorm around, mainly during the afternoon hours. The high 82 at the coast, 88 inland. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Joe Lundberg.
Wow, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Who did this?
P&P Tikis and more, of course. Now I have a tiki hut for shade, and I can enjoy the sounds of my cascading fountain while feeding my koi fish in my own pond. They even fixed my fence and redid all my landscaping. Nice to see a professional, reliable, family-owned business. Yes, P&P Tikis is the natural Florida tiki builder and water features designer. With free estimates, P&P Tikis is licensed and insured. Call 352-877-3307 for your very own tiki hut and more. That's 352-877-3307. P&P Tikis.
You've got a garden, and we've got a show for you called You've Got a Garden with your host, Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. Carol Ann answers your questions about your flowers, your veggies, your grass, your trees, even questions about your bugs. And she's only on WOCA, so don't miss Carol Ann Baldwin and You've Got a Garden each Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on WOCA The Source.
Hi, I'm Seth with AA Lock, Dock, and Security. Have you ever thought about the locks or security on your house or business? Have you ever wondered why the keys to your new cost so much? Well, at AA Lock, Dock, and Security, we can help with securing your valuables. We can even replace those expensive transponder keys. We can give you the knowledge that no one else will. Call AA Lock, Dock, and Security at 867-1965. That's 867-1965.
Your weekends are getting a little retool.
Swear to God, not making a joke.
Check this out. New shows? Check. Some new talent? Check. Let's welcome the guys.
Let's get it going.
Arnie Spanier.
Unbelievable.
TJ Reeves.
This is what you get.
Your weekends are on fire. Because that's how exotic it is.
Get it for less at the DIY Home Center outlet. Get top quality real wood cabinets the same or less than the big box stores are selling the cheap stuff. And that's not all. Drywall screws big box stores are $6.47 a pound. At DIY, only $4.99. Plus, DIY has the largest selection of mobile home parts and accessories anywhere. From carpet to doors, get the DIY supplies you need for less. The DIY Home Center outlet. We are your building material closeout store. 2191 Northwest 10th Street, just 2 miles east of I-75.
1370 WOCA.
All right, 12 minutes before 8 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Wednesday morning. It's a beautiful day. Do I need to tell you the temperature's not that hot? It's not that cold, so temperature's not that big of a deal. But
yeah, but it looks nice.
It is 68 degrees. I know, but every once in a while somebody will say, how come we don't mention the temperature? How come we don't mention the Dow Jones Industrial?
Yeah.
How come we don't tell me the price of gold right now?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's just what everybody does.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So I want to ask you your opinion on the whole minimum wage discussion has been ongoing forever. And we always come down to this. We always say, well, would you like to have no minimum wage at all? Mm-hmm. And if you had no minimum wage at all, would the market dictate the wages? I don't know. I think in some cities, I don't know, if you had no minimum wage at all, would businesses take advantage of the labor force? Would you see $2? And I think, yes, they would. So I'm not opposed to a minimum wage. So therefore, if I'm going to say I'm not opposed to a minimum wage, why would I be opposed to raising the minimum wage? And I don't know. It's just like, if you raise it in one city, Seattle is the case we're talking about here, because they raised their minimum wage, I think it was April 1st, to $15 an hour. And some journalists, some bloggers, some people who are writing about this, whether they're professional journalists or amateur bloggers, they are saying that restaurants are closing as a result of that. Others are saying, no, that's not why the restaurants are closing. The restaurants are closing. They would have closed anyway. That's what some of them are saying. And then when you ask, well, what about the minimum wage? How can a person live on $10 an hour?
That is hard.
How can you live on $10 an hour? And when $9 an hour is considered good, and some people, it's all, I guess, a matter of what you need, what you need. But if you raised it to $50 an hour or 32, what was the number they were throwing around for a while? 32?
Yeah, 32.
Okay, $32 an hour. Everything would go up. So just to use Seattle as the way we can learn about this, Subway sandwich shops in Seattle raised the cost of their sandwiches between a nickel and a dime per sandwich.
Okay.
To cover for the $15 an hour minimum wage that they have to pay. They also laid off a number of people, although they didn't close restaurants.
And you said about ingredients then too, that the restaurants were going to lower quality ingredients to compensate.
Right. So did specific Seattle restaurants close because of the minimum wage rise? Some people say no, and some people say yes. Some people say the jobs that might have been created, 13,000 is the estimated, 13,000 jobs. That's the equivalent to less than 2 days inflows into the unemployment figures, according to this. 13,000 people lost their jobs in Seattle.
I believe it.
Wow.
I believe it.
All right, let's go to the phone. What do you think about this topic? And if I say there shouldn't be any minimum wage, then I'm lying to you, because I don't think that's true either.
Yeah, but not $15 an hour.
See, this is the thing. What's the right figure? Good morning. You're on the air. What do you think?
Hey, yeah, good morning. Well, I think it's ludicrous that we'd ever think about $15 an hour. In my own field, in healthcare, you've got folks coming out with high school educations working in doctors' offices as medical assistants, all right? And you're comparing that to, let's say, an LPN or an RN. If you start someone with a high school education at $15 an hour, where do you go up from there, with people who have come in with more training and more experience? And you've got a 19, 20-year-old coming in to start. They don't need a living wage. They don't need. Most of them are living. A lot of them live with their families or whatnot. But you start them somewhere, maybe $10, $11, $12 an hour at the most, because you have to go up from there. If they're going to be with you for 10, 15, 20 years, what is going to be your ceiling for paying these folks? And then when someone comes in that has a college education and expects more money, where are they going to start? I mean, when you get to $20 an hour, you're at $40,000 a year. That's more than the average school teacher in Florida makes.
Yeah.
You're kind of, it's the $15 is preposterous, and I even think I agree with you. We need a minimum wage, but you have to differentiate between different levels of experience and education. When you're paying these employees.
Yeah, right,
and
right.
And help the small businessmen, because small businessmen, like in the medical field, we're going to be paying more money to our employees than
absolutely.
the owners of the business.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Thank you for your insight on that one. Appreciate the call. And wow, I mean, when the people who are unemployed who don't immediately get work right away, how do they keep their head above water? It's from unemployment compensation, which is essentially taxpayer money, right?
Exactly.
Good morning. You're on the air. What do you think?
Hey, good morning, guys. Wow, this is really tough. Being a self-employed small business person myself, it could be tough. My question is this not just another entitlement? Yeah, I understand. I saw a really good story one time about a guy who was a little girl and her mom was sitting in a McDonald's, or McDonald's, Subway, wherever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the little girl looked at her mommy and she says, "Mommy," she says, she saw how the people were behind the counter, and she said, "How did those people get from behind that counter?" And her mom says, "They go to college."
Good for her.
To me, it's just another entitlement. Like, I don't understand. It just completely goes by my head is why a person who is not working, is receiving public assistance, welfare, whatever you want, exactly can you tell me why that person and how that person, not only why they need, but how they can afford a $500 cell phone?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it basically boils down to the point of living within means, and of course there are people out there who, yeah, I understand this is the way it is. You know, this is the way that our country we live in. But you know, people who get out here and work, like, you know, I've worked like a dog all my life to have and get what I have, and I respect people who are out here working, the common laborer out here working. But you know, this is just the way. Everybody in this country can't make $100,000 a year from us. If you have a 6th grade education and you have a college background where you've spent time increasing your education to, you know, it's just ludicrous. It's ludicrous to think that, and the fact that the government's going to go in here and control what we as business people can afford to pay people. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you guys bringing this kind of stuff up. I think it's an important subject, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. It is an important subject, and it's an interesting subject after somebody's already tried it, and Seattle is the city that has tried it.
Yeah.
And what it looks like is that it is doing exactly what some of the economists who were talking about this, who were against it, were saying. They were saying that jobs would be lost. According to an organization called Express Employment's Professional, a whopping 38% of employers said that they would have no choice but to lay off employees if this became a national law. 54% of employers said they would hire fewer people if the minimum wage rose.
Right, and looking at Washington, D.C., look at all the interns that are there working for nothing for the politicians that are making $200,000 a year, and they're not even paying their interns minimum wage. I mean, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth.
Yeah, it's true, too.
Pay the interns if you're going to raise the minimum wage.
Good morning. You're on the air. What do you think?
It's what we tend to do sometimes is we tend to simplify situations that are not that simple. And simple situations, we simply complicate them. And what I mean by that is it's always good, you know, having worked in the fields and those types of things and seen people do it. People say, oh, yeah, you know, the channels of upward mobility is open if you do hard work. People that work in fields and things like that, which is minimal, I would argue that they work as hard as anybody.
Oh, I would too.
But the upward mobility and the amount of wages that they make is really not a livable wage. So what do? I mean, history has shown us that without a minimum wage, people are going to be taken advantage, and I think we both can agree on that. But the things that used to allow for upward mobility are not there anymore. For instance, I can remember going to college and... Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I can remember when I was in college, you know, where you could get all your books, you know, for one semester, one quarter for about $100. You can't do that now. I mean, so what happens? The average person that gets out the cost of living is so high because when they get out of college, a lot of them are on 40, 50, 60, 70, depending on what institution they went to. They're in debt so much until they cannot live off so you have to strike a happier medium. I would argue that we need to get rid of some of the loopholes in terms of those people, because used to a person on the lower level would make, executives would make, say, 50 times more.
Yeah. Lenny,
now it's like 400 times more.
I know, and that's
So
that's an important point too. Yeah, Lenny, thank you for your call. We're just up against the clock.
All right,
thank you. Appreciate the call. All right, good topic. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm William Wu. We're getting the latest on the Amtrak derailment disaster outside of Philly last night.
There's a victim that died here after the 5 that were reported at the scene.
Dr. Herbert Cushing, Chief Medical Officer at Temple University Hospital, where many of the injured were taken last night. More than 100 people needed treatment.
Amtrak 188 left 30th Street Station in Philadelphia 10 minutes earlier, believed to be at or near full speed when it reached a curve in the tracks and things went horribly wrong. 7 train cars, including the engine, left the rails, tumbling on their sides. 238 passengers and 5 crew on board. The cars sliding on the ground with some passengers slamming into windows or into each other.
Fox's Rick Leventhal. The jury in the Boston Marathon bombing trial will begin deliberations later today on life or death for Johar Tsarnaev after closing arguments in the penalty phase. Fox News. We report, you decide.
Fox News Early Prime, breaking down business news and its impact on your bottom line. Your World with Neil Cavuto.
That's how I do business. That's why I am business.
Bold positions and brash opinions on the topics America is buzzing about. The Five.
How do you think this will set in with the American people?
This will be the pulse of the nation.
Washington insight and political know-how from the best in the Beltway. Special report with Brett Bay.
The epicenter of the political world is here.
The #1 place for fair and balanced coverage. Fox News Channel.
What's wrong with working hard to make our lives and our kids' lives better? Nothing. At Fox Business, we don't have a problem with success. We have a very big problem with those who get in the way of it. We don't come out of the box bashing those who make money, just the politicians stealing it and the bureaucracies wasting it. We're not just sitting behind a desk. We're out in the field, on the floor, with the folks. Because when a story moves forward, so do we.
Fox Business, the power to prosper. Check your local listings.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at